Good afternoon. This is going to be an interesting day. Welcome to Let's Talk Legal. I am one of the co-hosts. This is Judge Sean Perkins, the man that has gone viral. Right, we laughing about that already. We've had that discussion. But how you doing, Judge?
How you doing, Dr. Mann?
Good, good. I think this show, we're going to get right into it. The reason for this show, Let's Talk Legal, is because for years I have not been able to understand. For me, when I was in school, I had to have law. And I thought it was an important tool in my life because then I could answer things that was taking place, right? And so when I was thinking about this, I was like, somehow, somewhere, we got to be able to get law to the people because people are only getting law when they're in trouble. And what do you think about that?
Absolutely. I've been a lawyer for 15 years. I started late in my life. I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I started late in my life. But I was fortunate enough to have Brother Todd Perkins as an attorney in the city of Detroit. And he's been an attorney since 1996. We were the first two in our family that got into law. And as you go to laws, when I was in law school, you thought you knew things just by watching and seeing, and see the judge shows, but they really touch you, the particulars, the nuances of it. And I see that. The beauty of this program, I think we hope to accomplish is that we give those our people the nuances of those things. So when they go to court, you're more prepared for what's going to happen, how it's going to take place, and maybe we can give you something to help in defense of yourself, or to help you out if it's a financial matter or anything. You're in a better position to argue on your behalf or state your part. You understand?
Yeah. I think that's important, right? Because when we came together on this concept, I just was wanting somebody to get law to the people. I mean, I've seen so many people just get in trouble daily, right? And if we can cut into the exposing people negatively on the news just from them having, I'm excited about that. When we came up with the name, Let's Talk Legal, like that's what we're going to do. So we're not just going to lead the people out there with just, a perspective, guest, host, those types of things. But I wanted to say, to you, this part of the show is really big. Like, I'll be representing the community, but the everyday person, what can they really expect just from learning from your wisdom? Like, because that's such an important piece.
Well, I think first, like I said, we just talked about, well, let me start. What I would like to start is teaching people the language of the law. When you're doing something, whether it be playing basketball or driving a car or anything that you're doing, and you want to be proficient at it, first of all, you got to know the rules. So I call the rules the language, so that, it's not a foreign concept when you step in that courtroom. And what the law is doing now, it's going to plain language, because we talked about that, and you mentioned that a lot of times about we need to break it down to people in simple terms. That's what the law is really getting to. Right. They're getting to away from all the big words and things like that, and they want to break it down into plain language. So we want to further dissect that down and break some of the common laws down and give them procedure so they can know. Because I was saying off the record before we started the program today, it's different ways you can win a case. It's different ways you can win a case. You can win a case by knowing the law and having defense. The people have elements to a crime. Each and every one of those elements have to be met before they can find you guilty of that crime. Or you can win a case just by knowing the procedure. They didn't turn over enough evidence. They didn't do this or they didn't do that. But if you don't know the rules, then you're not going to be successful in that arena. Just like you're a ball player. You played. Your family. You come from a lifelong of ball players. The first thing you had to do was know the rules.
Right.
You couldn't play if you didn't know the rules.
Right.
So it's the same in the law. So hopefully we can accomplish, and I know we will, because between the two of you and I, we're gonna grab this audience. We're gonna get this thing going, and we're gonna get it going viral, like you said. But we want to break it down for people with simple elements, and they can come into different situations and be prepared. Whether it's a traffic stop or you're all the way in the courtroom, you be prepared and you know what to expect.
Yeah, because at that right there, right, being prepared and what to expect. I deal with a lot of men in family law, and just some of the basics that they'll be able to hear and how they handle themselves is such an important piece in our family restoration work in the community. It's so important, and I can't stress this enough. This is why, another reason why I really wanted to get this popping is because we have way too many people affected by emotion and not understanding just a very practical piece, just like you were just saying about the law. But you come from this, right? And so you have to tell that interesting story about your dad, and how he wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah, my dad would, like I say, my dad would be almost close to 100. He was born in 1929, and that was his lifelong dream, is to be a lawyer. He actually went and when he graduated from Northern High School, he was graduated at 16 years old. He was on his way to University of Chicago. That's the kind of student he was. And his father got killed.
Okay.
His father got killed in the neighborhood on the North End. In the neighborhood I grew up, in the neighborhood he was born in. His father was a barber. His father got killed, and that kind of derailed those plans,
Yes.
So he went and he became a barber himself. And because he had been lifelong around the barbershop, and he built barbershop up. My dad was on franchise barbershops. He had 10 barbershops in the city of Detroit at one time, and then he went on to become a developer, and he did very well at that. Then he lost it all, and he started cutting hair again. And then when my brother Todd graduated from law school in '96, he opened up his own practice. And then my dad spent the last few of his years helping him establish himself in that. And it was. I mean, he just taught us. Well, first of all, he taught us life lessons from day one, and we did not kind of appreciate that as young teenagers and preteens,
right.
and you know how that goes.
Yes, sir.
And then when we, as we got older, we still looked at him, and you keep on teasing us, and he did it for a reason. I can remember one story where Todd, his first capital case, and capital case is when you're punishable by up to life in prison. So we're going to get those things out as we talk. Capital case you get, so you're talking about your robbery, your robbery, your armed robbery. It'd be armed robbery, would be punishable by up to life in prison. You're talking about your murders, your criminal sexual conduct, first degrees.
Right.
All of those are capital offenses, and those offenses are not expungible. So if you ever have a client that is charged with a capital offense, I had a young lady, she was charged with 4 armed robberies. And my goal, I did not accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. My goal was to get them to take those 4 armed robberies on an unarmed robbery. And that would have set her up for an expungement now, because I knew that she was only a one-time thing. She had a boyfriend that she was following, but I couldn't accomplish that. Now, we cut her time significantly, and we did a good job on that arena, but I always try to look downstream.
Right.
So anyway, he has his capital case. It was a carjacking case, and my brother worked. He works tirelessly. He just all night, all day, and that's just how he does.
That's
right?
how he is, right?
And my dad was in the office, I'm in the office, and Ty comes in the office, and it is showtime. We call it showtime. You got to put the show on, and we call it that because you're trying to convince. If it's a jury of 12 or 6 in a misdemeanor case, or if it's a judge,
Right.
you have to convince the people that they need to look at things in your way. So when he walks in, my father's got this look on his face, and he's like, he said, oh, I'm ready for this. You ready? And he looks at my dad because he always had that little grin on his face when we knew he was. He says, you don't think I'm gonna win this case, do you? Yeah, oh, no, you're gonna do fine. No, you're gonna be all right. He says, no, you don't think I'm gonna win this case. He said, no, you'll be all right. He says, no, tell the truth. He says, you really want to know the truth? He says, boy, ain't nothing gonna beat that boy to the penitentiary but the headlights on the bus. I sat back and I just envisioned it, right? You look at the cheese bus that we used to drive, and that front end has got the headlights there. You're not going before those headlights, but you are right behind them. And Todd just got so mad. He kicked my dad out the office and everything.
Right.
But
Right.
the outcome was.
Yeah, you see, I was, and it's funny because I was recently sitting in a court case, and I couldn't believe the judge was reading off these gun charges for one young man. He's a father. He's 32 years old, 7. And after she got through reading through the gun charges, I threw my hand up in the air in the court. She said, "Is this your son?" I said, "If it was, he wouldn't be in here." Mm-hmm. The issues that we see, that you don't understand law, that you can't repeat law, you can't do these things. This is why I wanted to do this show, right? If you know this beforehand, maybe you can navigate a different direction in life, right? It's the same thing as verbal and words literacy, legal literacy. If you have some of that, maybe you make a different decision. Maybe you don't run through the red light and crash and kill somebody and knock off their family, your family, and everybody's impacted from these poor decisions. The one question that I have, why the show? What is the biggest misunderstanding you see people have about law?
Okay, I think the biggest misunderstanding. Well, I think what it is, and it's so sometimes it's so much misunderstanding, right? First of all, procedure. Right. Like I say, we were talking about the rules. First of all, you can win just by procedure alone, and you really want to know your rights. And we live in the greatest country in the world, and it was without a doubt, because our legal system is structured to the point where they have to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You maintain your innocence all the way through the process until that jury or that judge says that you're guilty.
Right.
So, and one of the biggest things, so let's talk about why we're here today. This was just supposed to introduce us to what we're talking about. And
right.
I know we're delving into a lot of it right now.
Right.
But we were supposed to introduce and what we want to try to accomplish. We want to try to accomplish the procedure. We want to try to give them some language and give the people language that they can use. That they can use.
Right.
But when we talk about why this country is so great, is because of our legal system. And one of the biggest rights you have, and this is what makes America great, is you have the right to remain silent.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut up. That's it. Shut up. When the police are coming, knocking at your door, unless it's one of those, Sheriff Washington. I love Sheriff Washington, what he's been doing in the community. But they have a thing once a year or twice a year, I don't know how often they do it, where they're pulling over people to give the people credit on their drive and say, how we've been following you, you've been doing excellent, and here's a gift certificate.
Right.
Most of the time,
right,
the police aren't coming to give you a gift certificate.
They're going to hand you that ticket.
They're knocking on your door because they're investigating a crime.
Right.
They're investigating a crime. A crime is made up of elements.
Right.
Each and every one of those elements. So when that officer comes to speak to you, Dr. Mann, they already know. They know what happened.
Right. They got an idea for sure.
They know what happened. And they might have an idea that you did it. It may be some people that said you did it.
Right.
But they want your answers to their questions. And each one of those questions, at some point, it's got each of the elements of that crime in there.
Right.
And what they do, they want to get you talking. They want to get you talking.
Yeah.
And once they get you talking, they're going to throw those elements in there.
Yep.
And if you answer those elements, whether you did it or not,
Right. You're instantly
you were already
suspect.
the suspect.
Now you in deep.
Now you're in deep.
Yeah.
And you could be as innocent as the day is long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the type of things. And another thing, when I was in law school, they talk about terms of art. That was a hard concept for me to get my head around. And one thing about law school is that you're really out on an island on your own. It's not a difficult thing. It's a lot of process, a lot of work and reading, but you're really out on your own. And I had a brother that's a lawyer, and one of the things that he did help me with, and he was supportive, and you're going to be upright, you're going to be fine, everything's
Right.
going to be all right. But one of the things he helped me with was the term of art. And I said, I'm having trouble with this term of art. He was like, well, guilt and innocent is a term of art. I said, what do you mean? He says, because that person can be found guilty and have done nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This other person could have been innocent and
Did everything.
did everything they said he did. So those are things that we want to accomplish and bring out.
Yeah.
But the fact that little things, keep your mouth shut up, like you said.
Yeah.
Shut up, because you put I was there. I was, well, now you put yourself at the scene. That's one less thing that they need to prove.
Yes.
Because they have to prove every single solitary element.
Because that is the law.
That's the law.
That's the law. So in humanizing the court, which is what our intent is as well, this question, what's something people do in court that hurts them without them even realizing it? And you kind of touched on it, but a lot of people do this. One is talking.
Yes.
The other thing is the outburst. I recently had a situation where somebody was in a case and they couldn't shut up, so they had to put them out. Right? You say one more thing, it's going to be a contempt, so they had to put the person out of the court in order for them to hold the case.
And see what that does is so we talked about the show, right?
Right.
You have a jury over there of 12 people that don't know you. Right. That are assigned to do their civic duty and when you make outbursts like that,
right.
Most of the time it tends to, like I say, we let's talk about an innocent person.
Right.
He's so frustrated or she's so frustrated with the process, they felt that they've been getting railroaded, because if they were innocent and they're sitting in that chair, it was some kind of railroading at some point, right?
Right.
So, but you can't help yourself because of the outbursts, As a lawyer, I understand that, and as a Dr. Mann, and your dealings with people, you understand that in people's emotions. But that individual does not understand how that hurts them, So they have to recognize that, and that's one of the things that's very, very difficult, is to control your emotions in certain situations. Even in traffic court, what I try to do as a judge is I try to lighten the mood up. I try to lighten the mood up in the sense that I'm big on.
You mean like your man without his drawers on?
There's nothing I could do. What that situation was about just, hey, Cover yourself up. Let's not make this about you, because this young lady needs to get out of here. And
Right.
if I adjourn this because of that, then we're just holding the people. We're just
Right.
holding one of these our good citizens up
Right.
from getting their lives and they get their stuff adjudicated.
Right.
That was. I looked up. I was writing and I looked at him. Do you have some pants on? So I couldn't believe that.
Right.
But other thing was you know, when I get a traffic court thing, they are sometimes and I want to hear what they have to say because sometimes they're so passionate about it not being them being railroaded.
Right.
They're not supposed to get stopped and things like that. And I find sometimes they weren't supposed to get stopped, you know, and their cases get dismissed. But I try to calm them down because I'm going to give you your opportunity to speak. I would rather you speak through your lawyer because, again, all these things are made up of elements.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then when I hear that you've made the elements up to the crime that they're saying that you did, because sometimes they blurt it out. You know,
Right,
one
right.
guy says a couple of months ago, he gets a ticket for speeding up Gratiot. And he tells me, you know, the cop pulled him over and the cop did him wrong. The cop pulled me over. He wasn't supposed to pull me over. Okay, you say that. And I said, so, well, how fast? I said, do you know the speed limit on Gratiot? It's about 40. I said, so you were doing 40 up Gratiot? He was like, I might have been doing a little bit more than that, but I wasn't speeding. I said, well, the speed limit is 35. And he says, but I was just doing 5 over. Well, you're speeding. You know, so now you've already admitted to what you did.
Right.
You know, now you're trying to backtrack it and say how much. So I try to get them to not go there.
Right.
To watch what you say. Let your attorney speak for you. You speak through your attorney.
Right.
And then they take the emotions out of it.
Right. Right.
They take the emotions out of it. A good
Right.
lawyer is going to take the emotions out of it
Yes,
to
sir.
calm you down and get you to listen. Now, some of the best lawyers can't get some of their clients to listen.
Right.
It's just so client's going to do what they're going to do most of the time.
Right.
But that's what we want to talk about. That's the kind of things we want to accomplish.
Right. So that's the way the audience, you'll be able to write in and ask questions. You'll be able to send us questions weekly. You'll be able to, maybe we'll take a case or two, but more importantly, we want to make sure that you have the right information because there's way too many people going down to that court system. And in a city that really, in the state right now, we got several poor cities in Michigan. So having to go to court just because you were targeted or you didn't understand law, maybe this helps them, right?
Yeah.
The other question that I got is, how can understanding the law actually reduce fear, stress for everyday people?
Well, you can understand, you know. So when that incident happens, you're more prepared, you know, because, you know, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Right.
You know, it could be me, it could be you, you know, and unfortunately, this individual is has got pulled over or whatever legal situation they got into. You're more prepared. You know that I at least I know what's going on. The other day, I moved into my house about 5 years ago, and just the other day, I go to the front door to get the mail, and there's a glass next to my front door on the sides of my front door, and there was a card taped to the door. I mean, to the glass.
Right.
So I open the door and grab the card out. Is a process server. I'm like, what the heck? Am I getting sued? You know,
Right.
but I know that as a civil case, I have 21 days to respond. If I accept service, I have 28 days. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I know how to respond to a civil case if need be. It did have the previous owner's name written on the bottom of the card. But I said, man, that's kind of ironic. I'm still thinking I'm getting sued. I said, that's kind of ironic. She's the process server, and she's suing me, the person that I bought the house from.
Right.
Or she's serving me at least,
Right.
you know, the person that I bought the house from. So I did eventually call a number, and it was she that is getting sued, you know. But I was already clicked over, and my legal mind stepped up, and okay, if I have 21 days, if I contest service, if I accept service, then it's 28 days I got to respond. I know how to respond to a civil suit and things like that. So you're just prepared. You're just more prepared. Preparation in anything we do is key. Anything, and particularly in the law. Because why it's so important in the law is because you have your freedom and that's the most important thing that we have, is our freedom.
Preparation. Right. That's funny. That word preparation is huge, like you said, and it kind of fits everything, including the law, right?
Everything.
Right. The thing I'm excited about the show is when we bring on lawyers, right, and having the conversations that the lawyers really don't understand or really want to do that part, and then looking at it from a standpoint that as community people and families and everything, now you can get some information that's just really so important.
Well, let me comment on the lawyer thing. Myself and Dr. Mann have. I'm gonna give all credit to Dr. Mann. He's created this platform, and what would help us in our goal in teaching people the law is getting lawyers, professionals in each individual area of the law that they're in, to come and join us on the show and give us some information about that particular area of the law. Because here's what we're in a era now where, you know, I guess 70, 80 years ago, you had a lawyer that you would call him a general practitioner. So that means, you know, you had your family lawyer. I never had a family lawyer. We didn't.
Right.
So, but you know, you see it on TV, and Leave It to Beaver or something like that.
Right.
Their dad had a general practitioner. So whatever they got a traffic ticket, they call up, you know, Bob and the lawyer. They never got criminal cases because they just didn't put cases on Leave It to Beaver in them. But you have a criminal case, you call him up. You have a civil case, you call him up, and he can walk you through it. Now, law is so specific that, you know, you have a personal injury lawyer, you have an estate lawyer, you have a criminal lawyer, you have it's not really much the general practitioner anymore, you know. So what we want to do is we want to invite the lawyers that are tops in their fields to come and join us on the show, and we can give them some information about, you know, that particular area of law. And again, we can ask questions, and what we kind of envision is, you know, this being like a startup in the sense that we're letting everybody know what we want to do, what our platform is. Let's talk legal, and send in the questions.
Right.
And then we get the other lawyers on from week in and week out.
Right. And the sponsors, right?
And the
because
sponsors.
we want you as the sponsors to benefit from this information, so the community can actually see the types of sponsors and people that can help flourish the show. As we build the show out, we want to make sure that everybody is included because, again, law, legal literacy, let's talk legal is it.
And it touches everybody.
and it touches everybody. And some of y'all got to be tired of getting touched. You know what I mean?
Yes.
so by the law, right? So let's. I'm looking forward to the show. I'm glad we could get together and do this. I'm looking forward to the conversations, possibly some town halls in the future, things like that, where people can we can come in and share some of these things and these laws and experiences to help prevent families and people from failure and handling themselves properly in the court. Your last words.
And my last words, and expound on that just a little bit more. What we also want to do is we're going to, Dr. Mann and I will give some real life scenarios, right?
Yes.
What happens? What should we do if I get in this situation, or what's the best thing that we can do? And we will try to break it down and be interactive, and hopefully we can build this out to, like you say, the town halls where they can ask the questions right on the spot, and then we could go from there and just kind of make it like that. But for now, it'll be just you and I, and we'll give them some plain language. We'll give them some procedure, and we'll try to get them to learn the language of the law.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's our time for the day. Again, I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to this. And, if you're in a family and you're in a situation or some legal situation, always seek legal advice. It is such an important piece to whatever it is that you're going through. And you have been watching Judge Sean Perkins and Dr. Calvin T. Mann, and this is Let's Talk Legal, not egos. I got the ego. You got the legal.
They get the
Peace.
legal. All right, peace.